Good morning, or evening, or afternoon. Welcome back. It's another Sunday, Monday deck tech on one of my commander decks. I've done this one before. I think I did it about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. It is Muldrotha. Muldrotha the Gravetide. 3, a black, black, a green, and a blue. Legendary creature, elemental avatar. This one's from Dominaria. So during each of your turns, you may play up to one permanent card of each permanent type from your graveyard. So you can put in a, and then it says if a card has multiple permanent types, choose one as you play it. So you can put a land in. You could, as long as you guys haven't played a land that turn, so you can put a land in. You can cast a artifact. You can cast a creature. You can cast a enchantment. You can cast a planeswalker. So as long as you haven't, or as long as you've played those, that he can do one of those. And then, of course, the land, only one per turn. But I have ways around that, but we'll talk about that soon enough. Anyways, this is my favorite deck. It's my, literally is my favorite. I work on this one. It's my almost all the time. When it comes to lands, basic lands, not too many. Got snow-covered forest, snow-covered forest, snow-covered forest, snow-covered forest for 4 of them. Snow-covered swamp, and 2 snow-covered islands. Do they need to be snow-covered? No. No, they don't. Do I want them to be snow-covered? Yes. Yes, I do. It doesn't really matter because they're basic snow. They're basic lands. You change them to a regular land. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, anyways. My utility lands. Utility lands serve a purpose. Sometimes they're like this one here. Until end of turn, Savgoth, the Relentless Tomb, becomes a black and green plant zombie creature with this creature's power and toughness are equal to the number of creature cards in your graveyard. It's still a land. Don't care. I've only used that actually once, and it didn't work out really well for me. But it's an option. It's always an option if you need, like a, what do they call it? A blocker. Bajukabog. Hopefully you get this later in the game, not like I do normally, which is kind of early, but hopefully you get this later in the game, or when you absolutely need it and someone's playing with their graveyard. Not you. You want to play with your graveyard. That's the whole purpose of you playing with your graveyard. Westville Abbey. This one's great because for 5 you get to tap it, pay 1 life, put a 1/1 black and white and black human cleric creature token onto the battlefield, or 5 tap, sacrifice 5 creatures, transform it, and then untap. If you don't know, Westville Abbey turns into this guy. Ormondal Profane Prince. Sorry. Has flying, lifelink, indestructible, haste. It's a 9/7. So it's a great creature. It's a great card. I've never actually used its second ability of putting in creatures into play. I've always just sacrificed 5, not really caring which ones, just so I can get the Ormondal in play. Reliquary Tower, because you do find yourself at sometimes with needing to hold on to more cards than 7. Ghost Quarters, great because you get to destroy one of their lands, especially if it's one that they need, especially if they have a Reliquary Tower and no way of bringing it back. Blast Zone, so you can ping off a creature that you really need to. Strip Mine, another way of killing off one of their lands that you just don't want. And then, of course, Yavimaya Coast, Llanowar Waste, Polluted Delta. Yeah, it's my only fetch land in this deck. These are great because they come in. You can use them for regular mana, or you can pay 1 ping land, do a damage to you, get the color. This one's great because you can consistently get islands and swamps. And even if you don't need to, you can still use the ability by casting it from your graveyard and then paying 1, sacrificing it, only to get it back again. I'll explain that in a minute. Okay, so my dual lands, I got Overgrown Tomb, I got Hissing Quagmire, I got Temple of Malady, Blooming Marsh, Golgari Rut Farm, Nurturing Peatland, Hinterland Harbor, Breeding Pool, Temple of Mystery, Botanical Sanctum, Waterlogged Grove, Drowned Catacomb, Fetid Pool, Sunken Hollow, and Zagoth's Triumph. And I love Zagoth's Triumph. Anyways, this, for those of you who don't know, you sacrifice it, you search the library for an island or a swamp. There's quite a few cards in here that, like this one here, says land, swamp, forest. You can pull out the swamp. So I think there is 7 or 5 or 7 of these that you can do that for. So there's forest island, island swamp, and this one's a swamp, forest, island. And then, of course, you have your regular islands, your regular swamps, and your regular forests. It won't pull out the forests, but it'll pull out the island and swamps. So these don't do that. These are just utility lands. Anyways, on to, and the last land, of course, is Command Tower. It's the only Command Tower in here. It's the only, anyways, Command Tower. So let's go on to the first pile. This one is my enchantments. There are 4 enchantments in this entire deck. Vessel of Nascent, I can't pronounce that. 1 green, pay 2, sacrifice it, reveal the top 4 cards of your library. You may put an artifact, creature, enchantment, land, or planeswalker card from among them into your hand. Put the rest into the graveyard. You want them in the graveyard, so it doesn't really matter which one you get. I use it kind of as a ramp spell most of the time, but it really doesn't matter which one you get. If you don't get any, I'd be so surprised because this thing has so many creatures and so many only 4 enchantments, lands. Planeswalker's got 2, but Animate Dead for when you really want to bring a creature back from the graveyard, just for fun and giggles. Animate Dead's fun. Also with Muldrotha, you can bring it because it's an enchantment. You can bring it back and put it on another creature. Sultai. Oh, this is a way of getting 2 creatures from your graveyard into play with Muldrotha. With Muldrotha, you can get 1. You can cast it. You can also cast this enchantment, which then pulls another creature out of your graveyard. So there you go. There's two creatures out of your graveyard. I'm not going to read the entire text. Let's just say it comes back, and of course you get a -1, -0 on it, but that doesn't matter. Sultai's Ascendancy. This one is in here only because well, at the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top 2 cards of your library, put any number of them into your graveyard, and the rest back on top of your library in any order. It's okay. You're looking at 2 cards, so you're scrying. You're able to put them in the graveyard if you really want to. You're able to cast them. I mean, it's okay, but anyways. And then, of course, Wilderness Reclamation. Wilderness Reclamation is kind of a funny one because people, they see it, they see what it does. They hate the fact that you're able to untap your lands on, at the end of your turn. So, of course, they're going to destroy them with Muldrotha. You can just get it back and keep getting it back. And then they start worrying about it, and then they start trying to cancel it, and then they start trying to figure out ways of exiling it and all that other stuff. Oh, by the way, this episode is brought to you by Rum and Coke. Notice, no ice. I needed 2 shots, and I needed to be awake. And ice just makes it watered down. But yeah, some little Cuban rum and a cherry Coke. Okay, so creatures. Creatures fall into 3 basic categories. 4 if you count beatdown. Ramp, in some way for land, filling your graveyard, beat down, so a utility kind of beat down. I can't remember the other one, so let's just say 3. So, Caustic Caterpillar. It is it's a way of, it's a utility. It's destroying something when you're able to, you get it in, you kill something. Stitcher Supplier. Fill your graveyard. You want your graveyard filled, so you might as well throw it out there. Chump block it, let it die. You're putting six creatures in your graveyard. Satyr Wayfinder. You're filling your graveyard and you're getting a land. Hopefully you're getting a land. Not always, but hopefully. So it's a little land utility. Coiling Oracle. Hopefully you're getting a land. If you're not getting a land, you're just getting a spell into your hand. But a nice thing is, it's a fast one. Incubation Druid. This is my pump. I chose this one over any other one because this one you're able to, if you put a 1/1 counter on it, you get 3 mana of any type. So yeah, it costs 5, but it gets you 1 of any color, and then if you get it, if you adapt it, or if you get another +1/+1 counter on it somehow, then you can get 3 colors. So it's not bad. Flesh Bag Marauder. Nice thing about this one is you and your opponent get to sacrifice a creature. And if this is your only creature, guess what? You're sacrificing it and putting it into your graveyard. Reclamation Sage. Great thing. It's a utility one. It destroys an artifact or an enchantment when it comes into play. Eternal Witness, because sometimes you want your Reclamation Sage back to destroy another one of their artifacts. And this lets you bring it back. Isn't that awesome? And then, of course, Muldrotha lets you get her back. I mean, it's a win-win situation. I love it. Ranoop Excavator. Ranoop Excavator. You may play land cards from your graveyard. So if you're not able to get, or you do have this one out and they keep killing it, this still lets you get cards and play them from your graveyard, especially lands if you need them. Plague Crafter. Plague Crafter, when it enters the battlefield, each player sacrifices a creature or planeswalker, each player who can't discards a card. It's great. Still more going into your graveyard. Tireless Tracker, because why would you not, if you have lands that you're putting into play from just about anywhere, put a Tireless Tracker in, because this baby gets you clues. Clues! Sacrifice this artifact, draw a card. And you always want to draw cards. But it also pumps him up. Whenever you sacrifice a clue, put a +1/+1 counter on Tireless Tracker. I actually played a game about a week ago, and I had 5 +1/+1 counters on it. I was so excited and happy. Wayward Swordtooth has 3. If you have Ascend, which is great, you may play an additional land on each of your turns. So even if you play a land, you can still play one from the graveyard if you have Muldrotha. Then, of course, Wayward Swordtooth can't attack or block unless you have the City's Blessing, which is the Ascend part. It's a big 5/5 for 3, which is great. You're going to be, trust me, this deck, while not fast, it's pretty reliable. World Shaper, 3 and a white. I'm sorry, 3 and a green. Whenever World Shaper attacks, you may put a top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard. And when World Shaper dies, put all the land cards from your graveyard onto the battlefield tapped. Best way to get land cards back into play, especially since there are ways lands are just going to end up in your graveyard anyways. Archaeomancer, 2 and 2 blue. When Archaeomancer enters the battlefield, return a target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. It's a utility. There are some instants and sorceries that you might want to play again. Thrun the Last Troll, 2 and 2 green. Legendary creature, Troll Shaman. Thrun the Last Troll can't be countered. When Thrun can't be the target of spells or abilities your opponents control. And then, of course, 1 and a green, regenerate Thrun. He's basically a beatdown. He's a 4/4 for 4, and he regenerates. So, it's kind of fun. Golgari Finebroker, 2 black, 2 green. When Golgari Finebreaker enters the battlefield, return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. Kind of like the Eternal Witness. Eternal Witness lets you bring back any card. This lets you bring back a permanent. So maybe you want that enchantment. Maybe you want another creature. Maybe you want an artifact. It lets you bring back just about anything. Just not a sorcery or an instant. Ravenous Chupacabra, 2 and 2. When Ravenous Chupacabra enters the battlefield, destroy target creature an opponent controls. I love this one. I love this card. It's great. It's my favorite because I get to pick off whatever card they're playing, and I don't care. This deck almost became a Sidisi Brood Tyrant deck. 1, a black, a green, and a blue. Whenever Sidisi Brood Tyrant enters the battlefield or attacks, put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard. Then, of course, whenever 1 or more creature cards are put into your graveyard from the library, put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield. And I thought about this when I was making the deck under Muldrotha, and I saw this card, and I was like, yes, but I already got a zombie deck. It's great when it's out. I can have a couple of zombies. Oh, apologize. Somebody sent me a picture. But I chose to go with Muldrotha because I'm able to bring those cards back. Sultai Soothsayer for 2, a black, a green, and a blue. When Sultai Soothsayer enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of your library. Put 1 of them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. So you're still filling your graveyard. Sidisi Undead Vizier, 3 and 2 black. Legendary Zombie Naga has Death Touch and Exploit. When CDC, when he exploits a creature, you may search the library for a card, put that card into your hand, then shuffle your library. Exploiting is you sacrifice creature. So if you happen to have this one out, go ahead and throw them in your graveyard. If you happen to have, what is that one called? Stitcher Supplier. That one right there. If you happen to have Stitcher Supplier, go ahead and throw it in your graveyard and sacrifice it. So you get 3 more cards in your graveyard. So it's great. Shriekmaw, utility. He costs 4 and a black, but no one really plays that. Everyone pays the evolved cost of 1 and a black. When Shriekmaw enters the battlefield, destroy target non-artifact, non-black creature, and it has fear. So it's going to be sacrificed. when you do it, but you're able to get rid of one of their cards. If you hard cast it, he's a 3/2. He sucks. The best thing about him is he has fear. So, I mean, if you hard cast him, sure. Same as Muldrotha, and hardly anyone ever pays the 5. When he comes into play, he gets to draw 2 cards. If you evoke him for 3, he comes in, he goes away. You get 3. You get 2 cards. If you hard cast him for 5, you only get a 2/2 flying creature, which really isn't that great. Acidic Slime for 3 and 2, green, has Death Touch. When it comes into play, destroy target artifact, enchantment, or land. This one's nice because you're still pinging off other people's stuff. So the big threats on the board, you're able to get off the board. The Gitrog Monster. This one you have to have. This one, if you're going to play Muldrotha, you have to have the Gitrog Monster. Has Death Touch. He's a 6/6, big whoopee. You want these stats. And it says, at the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice Gitrog Monster unless you sacrifice a land. Go ahead and sacrifice a land. Throw it in your graveyard. You're going to get it back. You may play an additional land on each of your turns. Okay, so now you get to play 2. And then, of course, whenever 1 or more lands are put into the graveyard from anywhere, draw a card. There you go. You get to play 2 cards, 2 lands, if you have them. You get to play them with this one from your graveyard, at least 1 from your graveyard. And then if every time 1 hits the graveyard, you get to draw a card. And there's plenty of ways to make them go into the graveyard. That is awesome. Next one works even well with both of them again. Tatiova, Bethnic Druid. When a land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain a life and draw a card. Draw a card, draw a card, draw a card, draw a card, draw a card. You're going through this deck fast, trust me. When this engine turns on, this deck rocks. This deck is awesome. Scholar of the Ages works just like the other one. 5 and 2 is a little bit more expensive, but this one you get return up to 2 target instant sorcery cards from your graveyard to your hand. She's a little bit beefier, 3/3, but you get 2 instant sorcery cards. So now these next 2 are the big boys. These are the big finishers that you want to put on the in play and just have them beat down face because it's fun to do. Hogak, Risen Necropolis. He's an 8/8. You can get him from your graveyard. He has Convoke. He has Delve. The only sad part is you can't spend mana to cast this spell. Okay, so you're not casting mana. You may cast Hogak and Necropolis from your graveyard. So even if you don't have him and he's in your graveyard, you can still cast him. Delve is exiling cards from your graveyard, which will pay for 1. And then, of course, Convoke, by tapping a creature you have, you can pay for a black or a green. So there you go. 2 creatures on the board. And sacrifice for exile 5 other cards out of your graveyard, and he comes back. And then, of course, Torgar, Famine Incarnate. I think this sleeve needs to be replaced. I think all these sleeves need to be replaced. As additional cost, cast this spell, you may sacrifice any number of creatures. This spell costs 2 less to cast this way for each creature sacrificed this way. And then, of course, when Torgar, Famine Incarnate, enters the battlefield, up to 1 target player's life total becomes half of their starting life total rounded down. I've actually done this when I had only 10 life. It gave me back to 20. So I was pretty happy because my, your life total starts off at 40 in Commander. So those are the 2 big beef downs. The whole purpose of them is just to come in and start beating face. That's it. All right, so let's talk about some artifacts. Artifacts are, you're going to be getting these back with Muldrotha, so might as well have them in here. Engineered Explosives, this is a great one for getting rid of all those little 1/1 tokens that come out. Goblin decks, Selesnya decks, just tokens everywhere. Cast this, Engineered Explosives for 1. And then when you sacrifice it, all of those, put it in for play for 0, all of them go away. Put it in play for 1, everything that costs 1 goes away. When you sacrifice it, Engineer Explosive, destroy each non-land permanent with converted mana cost equal to the number of charge counters on Engineered Explosive. It has Sunburst. So if you don't pay anything into it, it's a 0. You still have to pay 2 and sacrifice it, but it hits everything that costs 0, which are tokens. The downside is if you have clues in play, make sure, non-land permanent. If you have clues in play because they don't cost you anything, you sacrifice this, you lose all these too. Same goes with Smothering Tithe and the gold, or I think it's gold. The treasure tokens. They don't cost anything, so all tokens are going to go away. But that's the whole purpose of Engineered Explosives. You can also get it back and pay into it if there's a creature out there you really want to get rid of. But the most you can put into this is 5. That's sad, but it's true. The most you can put into this is 5. So it's not getting rid of Torgar. Soul Ring, because why would you not have that in there? Talisman of Resilience, to add a colorless or add a black or a green. Talisman of Resilience does 1 damage to you. Dimir Signet, 1 tap, add a blue and a black to your mana pool. Spellskite. You know what? I should actually have more of those, but I don't. Anyway, Spellskite, 2. Change a target spell or ability to Spellskite. And it's a Phyrexian ability, Phyrexian blue. So you can lose 2 life instead of paying an island, which is okay if the spell's going to hit you for like 20. Swiftfoot Boots. This one gives hexproof and haste. So that's great. So as soon as I get this down, I want to put that on it just to give it the hexproof. Mirage Mirror. Love this card. This is great. So remember, when you play this card, costs 2 to use. Mirage Mirror becomes a copy of target artifact, creature, enchantment, or land until end of turn. You can do this on a Smothering Tithe on someone else's turn, but it costs you 2, so sometimes it's not worth it. But you can also turn this into a big creature after you get rid of their creature, or right before you get rid of their creature, copy it, get rid of their creature. Now you have a big beefy creature till end of turn. Till end of turn being the opulent word. So you have to be careful how you use it. But it's a great card. You're able to use it against them on their own stuff. Soul-Tide Banner costs 3, gives you a blue, a black, or a green. And then, of course, if you pay blue, black, green, tap it, sacrifice the banner, draw a card. Chromatic Lantern, 3. All your lands produce 1 of any color. And, of course, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. So, Crucible of Worlds. You may play land cards from your graveyard. I had to have a couple of redundancies in here because I found myself not being able to grab the lands out of the graveyard and sacrificing them all. So I needed some redundancies. It gives your opponent other things that they have to do to stop you from, getting a lot of lands. Helm of the Host. Helm of the Host, you definitely want to put on a big creature, a big beefy creature. Even if you're not attacking, you want to put it on there. So like with Muldrotha, it lets you cast your creatures twice except for your lands. You're still only allowed to put 1 land in play at a time, with one exception. But anyways, it gives you big beefy creatures. So if you happen to get a Hogak out and play, put the Helm of the Host on it. It definitely, it's just fun to beat face. The downside of this one, just like Crucible of Worlds, and just like Wilderness Proclamation, they become the targets. Everyone starts to try to target those. And then, of course, you got Gilded Lotus, because why would you not? 5, add 3 of any one color. And then, of course, Bolas the Citadel. I've ended many a games with Bolas the Citadel. 3 and 3 black. You may look at the top card of your library. Anytime you may play the top card of your library. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to the converted mana cost rather than the pay in its mana cost. Then, of course, tap, sacrifice 10 non-land permanents. Each opponent loses 10 life. This is great, especially later in the game when you still have enough life to do this with. You just have to be careful what you do. But it is fun to destroy all your opponents or get them down below 10. Because it says loses 10 life, not becomes 10. All right. So you really only need about 6 lands to start going off. So there is plenty of spells in here that are ramp. You saw the artifacts. Now I got some spells. Splendid Reclamation. Return all land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. This one's a little bit more later in the day or later in the game, but this one's fun, especially when you know you have like 3 or 4. If you have 3 or 4 land in there and you cast this, yes, it costs you 4, but you're getting 4 land. So that's great. If you get more lands than that, then that's great. It just kind of pays for itself. Search for Tomorrow. 2 and a green. I never use it for that. Normally I just pay the 1 to spend it for 2. Search library for a basic land card, put it into the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Just pay 1. You can go off, Ooh, what is that? Oh, it's a little spider. That was interesting. I saw it walk across my table. Thanks. Search for Tomorrow. It's just a fun card. Cultivate. Gotta have to Cultivate. 2 and a green. Search library for up to 2 basic land cards. Reveal those cards. Put 1 in the battlefield, 1 into your hand. Then shuffle your library. Nice thing about this, you do not have to tap it, or it doesn't come in tapped. So if you played a land, you can actually use this to get another land. Sylvan Scrying. Search library for a land card land card. Not a basic land, a land card. Reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your library. So it doesn't matter what land, you're getting a land. Traverse the Ulvenwald for 1. Search library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it in your hand, and shuffle your library, but it has Delirium. Delirium, if there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard, instead search library for a creature or a land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. So yeah, early on you're not going to get that, but later on in the game when you have a couple of the what do they call it, the utility workers that are getting you points or getting you land or getting you card draw, this is a great card to have. Okay, Collective Brutality. This is the pingers, the ones for kind of hurting your opponent. And it also lets you discard into your graveyard if you want to. For 2, it also has Escalate, discard a card, choose 1 or more. If you choose all 3 of them, it says target opponent reveals his or her hand. You choose an instant sorcery card from it. That player discards that card. Okay, so what? You threw a card in your graveyard. Target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn. Hey, maybe you kill off one of their little creatures. Target opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. And then, of course, Languish. All creatures get -4/-4 until end of turn. It's kind of not a real good board wipe, but I didn't want to put Damnation in this deck. I really didn't. I wanted to be able to keep my Muldrotha if I really had to. And I find that a lot of people, especially after you attack, if they know they have a creature that's going to survive, by casting this, you're able to get rid of it. But you do have to be careful because at that point you are making your Muldrotha or your Torgar more susceptible to death too. Diabolic Tutor. Why would you not have a tutor in this, right? I mean, at least 1. 2 and 2 black, search library for a card, then put that card into your hand, then shuffle your library. You would think I'd have more tutors in this deck. I don't. But I'll tell you what, if I do get Grim Tutor, I'm putting it in the stack. Casualties of War, 2 black, 2 green. Choose 1 or more, destroy target artifact, destroy target creature, destroy target enchantment, destroy target land, destroy target planeswalker. I've actually done some of these on myself. You know, your stuff, your stuff, your stuff, your stuff. Whoops, sorry. I made my camera fall. I love this tripod. I need a new tripod. Anyone have any suggestions? Anyways. How's that? Can we see your belly button? All right, so back to this. Yeah, destroy everybody's stuff. And now I'm going to go ahead and get rid of one of my lands so I can draw a card. Because I can draw a card. Rise of the Dark Realms. 7 and 2. Put all creature cards from all graveyards into the battlefield under your control. This one's great. It's a game ender. This is the whole purpose of this deck. Fill up your graveyard, get all the creatures out there, and just do a beatdown. And then, of course, Finale of Devastation. X and 2 green. Sacrifice your library. I'm sorry. Search your library and or graveyard for a creature card with converted mana cost X or less. Put that into the battlefield. If you search your library this way, shuffle it. If X is 10 or more, creatures you control get +X and gain haste until end of turn. And I have done this for 15. Gave all my creatures +15. They all gain haste, and we attack. It's a great card. It's awesome. It's a game ender. It sucks when you have to play that card 2 or 3 times. I've seen that happen, though. Okay, instance. It's kind of same categories. More land recursion or land, what do they call it? Mana ramp. Harrow. Not the best one, but hey, it gets a card into your graveyard too. 2 and a green, sacrifice as an additional cost to cast the spell, sacrifice a land. I know people hate to do that, but you know what? Sometimes you got to sacrifice a land. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, put them into the battlefield, then shuffle your library. And then, of course, Grasp of Darkness. 2 black. Target creature gets -4/-4 until end of turn. Dismember. 1 and 2 Phyrexian black. Target creature gets -5/-5 until end of turn. Phyrexian means that you can pay either black or you can pay with 2 life. So it costs you 4 life and 1 of anything else. Crop Rotation. As an additional cost to cast Crop Rotation, sacrifice a land. Search library for a land card, put that card into the battlefield, then shuffle your library. I actually used Crop Rotation to find a strip mine to end a problem. It's funny to say that because I lost 2 lands, but it worked so well. And I was able to get them back with Muldrotha. Beast Within, because why wouldn't you do this? Anyways, 2 and a green, destroy target permanent. Its controller puts a 3/3 green beast creature token onto the battlefield. Yes, you're getting rid of their Bolas' Citadel, or you're getting rid of their Tazagard, or you're giving them a 3/3 beast creature token. And a 3/3 is a whole lot easier to handle than that, or that, in a lot of cases. So, and then of course you have blue. Ooh, that time just me breathing did it. That was not cool. Cyclonic Rift, because why would you not Cyclonic Rift when you have a chance to Cyclonic Rift? Yes, it gets rid of everybody else's stuff, doesn't get rid of your stuff, but Cyclonic Rift is going to kill everybody else's stuff, and then you get to go in and just own the board. And then, of course, you counterspell, because when you cast Cyclonic Rift, you definitely don't want them to counter it. So if they try to counter it, you counter their counter. That is literally the only counter that's in this entire deck. And last but not least, end of the game. Now, I did not put a Planeswalker in here. Everybody says I should put it in here. I did not. I have like 4 of them. I did not put it in here because I don't like playing that way. I like playing with these 2. Vraska, Golgari Queen. I want the ultimate. You get an emblem with whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, that player loses the game. You want that ultimate. It is great. She's able to uptick for 2. You may sacrifice another permanent. If you do, you gain 1 life and draw a card. So if you have Muldrotha on the board, go ahead and get rid of creatures or a land. You're going to get them back anyways. -3, destroy target non-land permanent with converted mana cost 3 or less. I have never used that. Just haven't. But you're able to uptick. So you go from 4 to 6 to 8 to 10. You do the emblem, and you own the board. Next one is Liliana Vess. 3 and 2. I've always used her second ability. You can use it twice before you do anything else. Search library for a card, then shuffle your library and put that card on top of it. She's a tutor. I don't care about the rest of them. Put all creature cards in the graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. Okay, that's for 8. You can tick it up 3 times. I'd rather tutor. I honestly would rather tutor. Sometimes you have to find exactly what you need, and that's what I do. So that's my Muldrotha deck. I hope you all enjoyed it. It's still a work in progress, just like Andy will tell you when it comes to your commander decks. They're never done because the new sets come out, and sometimes you just find new cards that really just need to be put into the deck. A good example of that was right there, Zagoth's Triumph. I don't know if you can see that through this. It comes in tapped. I don't care. You can cycle it though, but it's a forest, a swamp, and an island. So I put it in here. I think it's a great card. The fact that it comes in tapped when so many of my other ones don't, I'm okay with that. I don't really do a lot of tapped lands. There was one Bajuka Bog, maybe one of the Hissing Quagmires. I might have 3, well, except for the, what are they called? Yeah. I mean, yeah. Anyways, if you like the deck, leave a thumbs up. Leave a comment. If you didn't like the deck, definitely leave a comment. If I'm missing a card that you think I should add to this deck, please leave a comment. Very much appreciate it. Hit the thumbs up, hit the bell for notifications, and subscribe so you can see more of my stuff. I hope you have a great day. Enjoy the rest of the week, and I'll see you on Friday. Friday is just around the bend, July 3rd. I'll be doing a couple more pack openings on Friday, but of course, I will be getting a box of 2021 that I will be opening, but it won't be on Friday. It might be next Sunday, but as soon as I get it, I'm going to open it. So stay tuned, and I will see you later.